Welcome to Text Data 101. This is the very first episode, and we're going to start with what you want to know before you begin to work with a specific piece of text data, a corpus, a data set, anything like that. So first of all, why should you listen to me? My name is Dr. Rachel Tapman. My PhD is linguistics, and in my research, I had a focus on computational sociolinguistics. So basically NLP with a little bit of sociolinguistics thrown in. After that, I was a data scientist and developer advocate at Kaggle. You may know me from the Kaggle YouTube channel. And after that, I was a developer advocate at the open source chatbot startup Braza. And now I do this, and I teach graduate level courses in NLP and data science at various universities. I've been working with language data in a computational capacity for about 13 years at this point, so I've made a lot of dumb mistakes, and I'd like to help you avoid them. In this first episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what unstructured data means and what it doesn't mean, because this is a common area of miscomprehension by people who are new to working with text data. And then I'm going to give you some specific questions that you're going to want to answer before you start to mess with the data set, open it up, do your initial exploration, and then begin to do your data cleaning and preparation. Unstructured data. People will often refer to text data and some other types of data, including things like video or images, as unstructured data. And what they mean is, if you have a large text data set, generally it doesn't have internal delineated data structures. It can be parsed, it can have tree structures in it, it could be attached to an ontology that would have a richer network structure, but generally it's just a flat text file, or it's specific text fields within another object, like a JSON object returned by an API call, but within the text field itself there is no additional computational structure added. However, all human language data is structured. So it contains linguistic structure. It's going to have certain lexical items arranged in a certain way. It's going to reflect the grammar and lexicon of whatever languages it is drawn from. And it will also reflect the social context of use. So where was this text data produced? Who produced it? Why? At what point in time? Did they write it longhand? Did they type it? Who were they talking to? Who was the intended audience? So all of these things are going to be systematically and measurably reflected in the text itself. And the good news is that this means, this fact of this internal structure, we can do machine learning on it, right? There is signal here that we can model in an automated way. So it's possible to do machine learning with text data because text is structured, because it is a reflection of a structured system. However, that structure is not always already reflected in the text in a computer readable way, which is where the field of NLP comes in. A couple background questions we're going to ask today. And the reason why it is important to ask these background questions before you begin is, first of all, you want to know whether you can use the data. So both, is it allowed for you to use this specific data, but also if you do use this data, will it help you on the particular task that you are working on? And also, what additional data do you still need, if any? Do you have enough data? Do you have the right data? Do you have relevant data? If you are very lucky, your data is going to come with beautiful, rich, thorough documentation. So I have some examples here. Data sheets for data sets here. It might be perfectly filled out. You'll have motivation about why people collected this data, deep knowledge about how it's structured. You might have something like a data card that will tell you who collected data and why and what's in it. Unfortunately, odds are you're not going to get that. So you're probably going to have something more like this dataset documentation that is for the Squad data set. It's one of the most well-known question answering data sets, and its documentation on Hugging Face, a popular hub for posting data sets and models, mostly just says more information needed for all of these different sections in the data card, which is not ideal if you're trying to use this data set. You're just not going to have all the information you need without really digging for it. I also have an example of a fictional workplace conversation. So you might be like, hey, do you know where this data you sent me came from originally? And you may get a response back like, oh yeah, I think an intern maybe scraped it from somewhere a couple of years ago. Maybe they're at Netflix now. I don't remember. Unfortunately, the richness of the metadata often leaves a lot to be desired. So you may need to do some digging to figure out the answers to these questions, but it is well worth doing, because if you can answer these questions before you get started on the data, you will save yourself many hours if the answer to any of these questions ends up being, hey, I can't use this for this project, it's not the best fit. So first of all, who who produced this language originally, whose data as a human is being represented in this data set, and also who collected this text data. Sometimes you'll get a data set that is just the language output of a specific individual who has curated it and made it available. Oftentimes that's not the case though, right? So even if a data set is a collection of, say, the papers of someone specific, often those papers have been collected after their death by another person. And the person who originally collected and made the data available may not be the only person who has interacted with the data, right? Other people may have also annotated or modified or removed some of the data in the data set, and you want to have a good idea of who's done what. And the reasons are that you want to know that you have the appropriate permissions to use this data. So you want to know that you have the permission of whoever produced the language data in the first place if it's relevant. Not only to use it, but also to use it in the way that you want to use it. And also you want to know that you have that permission from the data collectors, right? So text data can absolutely contain personal identifying information. It can contain types of information about individuals that might be protected by things like GDPR or CCPA or other legislation that limits how you can use data with and without consent. And you want to make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row there. And I know that in the field, sometimes you'll see people taking a very devil-may-care attitude towards what data they collect and how they use it, but I would recommend against that very strongly, professional to professional. This is my advice to you. So I'm filming this in late 2022 and the legal landscape is very much in flux. There is currently a lawsuit against Copilot for misusing data produced by programmers and shared on GitHub. Depending on how that court case shakes out here in the US, the legal landscape may be very different in the next couple of years. And there is, again, in the United States context, a history of if the FTC has found that an organization has gotten access to data illegally or in a way that is not allowed, you may be asked to kill. You might have heard about the algorithmic death penalty or algorithmic disgorgement. You may be asked to completely destroy not only any model trained using that data, but any other models that use that as a dependency, right? I don't want you to have to be in that position, so I would just recommend err on the side of caution. If you're not sure, my recommendation would be to only use data that's in the public domain. That doesn't mean is available publicly. Public domain is a specific license that's extremely permissive in how you use data. So for example, old books from, say, the 1800s are in the public domain. Their authors can no longer claim royalties from them. You can basically do with the text whatever you like. It's not an issue. Government data is often licensed in the public domain. CC0 is a very similar license. Or something that is licensed for commercial reuse without share alike, which means you can use it for a business purpose and you don't have to give anyone else who wants it the same access to your model that you had for your original data set. So if you have any questions about this, I would absolutely talk to a lawyer. My advice is just err on the side of caution, take care of yourself and your company, and just be careful about it. So you know whose data is in it, you know who collected it, you have permission to use the data, what's in there, because it doesn't matter what's in the data if you can't use it, right? Some things to consider: is the topic relevant to you? Is the genre relevant to you? A recipe blog and a restaurant review are both about food, but the genre is very different. Do you have the amount that you need? Do you have too little? Do you have too much in the very rare situation where you have too much data? Is it organized in the way you need it to be organized? Does it require additional organization? Is there appropriate metadata? Is it in the human languages you want? What languages is it in? Are you sure it's in those language or language varieties? Of the data that is in the data set, how much of it is relevant to your specific use case? So in general, in my experience, the vast majority of language technology development is not on general purpose models. I've made up this 99% figure. It is just imaginary. But again, just based on my experience in the field, generally people want to do something specific, and doing that requires specific data. Where was the language data produced? If it was produced online, what website was it produced on? Is it from Wikipedia? Is it from social media? If it's from social media, do you have permission to use it? Scraped data and data access through developer API are going to have different rules about how you can and can't use them. Was it published in a newspaper? Where was this language data produced originally? And do you have that information? Do you have that metadata? And also, where are the actual files, right? Can you get access to this data? Is it something that you're going to need to pay for access for? Is it in something like the Linguistic Data Consortium where you pay for access to data sets? Is it something that you're going to need to lease access to? Is it on a machine that you can get to, right? So can you get to this data that you know exists and actually use it? Why was this data produced? You know, who produced it? You know what's in it. Why did they do it? What was their aim in producing the language data? And this may have some overlap with where the language was produced, or it may not. Was it for peer consumption? Were people texting back and forth and for some reason you have those text logs? Was it something that was publicly shared? Were they writing to inform, to persuade, to tell a story? Why was this data being produced? And an important thing to think about here as well is, was it intended to be deceptive or harmful? Are you including misinformation, disinformation? Was it intended to be harmful to specific individuals? Is it defamatory? Or was it intended to be harmful to models? Is it a type of data poisoning where specific data inputs are included in the training data to a model in order to change the behavior of that model in the way that the attacker wants, but you probably don't? When was it produced, and when was it collected, and was it edited at any point? So language change is a constant force that is always happening to all languages in the world if they have living speakers, which means that language data from time A is not necessarily going to be relevant in time B. For example, if we are thinking about, let's say, public health discussions from 2018, they're not going to be as relevant in the context of 2022 because there's been some big changes in public health. When was it collected? Was it collected soon after it was produced? Was there a long lag? Oftentimes you can get the collection date but not the production date. How sure are you that those line up? Is it continuing to be collected, right? Is this a streaming data source where you can get new data from it? Was it collected at a fixed point in time and that's all you've got? Question mark. Questions that you need to answer. Also, was it edited at any point? Are you sure? Again, thinking about data poisoning, is this something that you can account for? And it's a thing that can be very helpful to do at this stage when you're trying to figure out whether or not this is data you want to use is, do you have an accurate timeline of where this data has been and what's been done to it? And it may be very simple, right? It may be, I have done an API call to this public, well-documented API. I know it's been done because I have the data here. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario, someone emails you a PDF of the files you need and you have no idea where it's from. They don't know where it's from. Somebody emailed it to them, 3 years ago. This is less hypothetical than you think it should be. And again, if you're thinking about security for your data, if you're thinking about whether or not it's going to be accurate at a time point in the future, you want to have information about this to help you decide whether or not this is data you want to include in your model. The general term for this is data provenance. You know where it's come from and what's been done to it and who and why, etc. Things to ask before you decide to use a specific piece of data. Who made and collected this data? Are they all right with you using it? Do you have permissions? I would always recommend erring on the side of caution. What's in the data? Is it what you need for your specific work, for your specific project? Where was the data produced? Where is it now? Can you get access to it? Perhaps those are the same thing, which again, that's the simple case. I hope that is the case for you. Why was it produced? What were the motivations of the people who produced the language data originally? Can you trust it? Do you believe that, for example, if you're trying to create a knowledge base, entities that are mentioned in the data are real entities? Particularly with the proliferation of generated text data, I think it's always good to be a little bit paranoid. And also, when was it produced and what's happened to it since? Can you get a general idea of the timeline of this data and its provenance? So those are the questions that I would ask if I was sitting down with a new data set or with a problem that I was trying to find data for. Next episode, we're going to assume you've got data, you're happy to use it. We're going to start talking about how to interact with these files. It'll be a little bit hands-on, a little bit more coding, and I hope you enjoy it. Also, I want to say a big shout out to all of my monthly coffee supporters who help make content like this possible. I very much appreciate you. And if you're interested in joining them, it is ko-fi.com/rctatman. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you very soon for the next episode.